It all started with a quiet, unexpected order issued behind palace doors. Staff members were stunned, struggling to believe such a command existed. A symbolic portrait in a historic room had suddenly vanished. And at the center of this storm, Prince William and Queen Camilla. Stick with me, we are about to uncover a royal scandal. At first, almost nobody dared to talk about the strange change. People assumed it was a mistake. After all, portraits do not disappear. Every painting holds massive weight, telling stories of rank and long standing history. That is why the missing portrait of Queen Camilla raised so many alarms. A normal morning quickly turned into intense, hushed whispers and wild speculation. Official word, according to palace rumors, claimed it was just simple maintenance. Frames are cleaned often, and artwork is occasionally moved around to new spots. The excuse sounded standard. Yet many found it difficult to actually believe. Senior staff members quickly noticed that every other portrait remained perfectly untouched. The gallery looked exactly as it had, except for one glaring, empty space. Queen Camilla's image was gone, and the questions only grew with time. Usually calm and composed, acted unusually cautious in their private conversations. Some avoided the subject entirely, while others seemed genuinely shocked by it. Reports suggest even high ranking figures were left completely in the dark here. That detail alone sparked even more intense rumors among the royal staff. Then came the rumor that turned quiet curiosity into a massive scandal. Insiders began claiming the instruction did not come from the gallery staff. It did not come from any of the palace administrators either. Instead, it allegedly came directly from the office of Prince William himself. No public statement followed. Yet the story spread through the palace quickly. Some brushed it off as gossip, but others wondered what was happening. William and Camilla had always presented a united front for the public, but royal history is always filled with tensions hidden beneath polished surfaces. The experts knew that major changes rarely ever announce themselves very loudly. They start with small gestures whose true meaning only becomes clear later. Now, pay attention, this is where the situation becomes truly explosive. The conversation expanded beyond one portrait, reaching into every single royal residence. Why now? Who approved it? And what message was being sent out? The answers remained hidden, but it was clear something had finally shifted. The missing portrait was just the surface of a deep, building conflict. It might have looked like nothing more than art, but inside those walls, royal portraits are never just simple, flat paintings. They are symbols of influence, and removing one is a loud statement. That is why the mystery of the missing portrait refused to die. The more people talked, the more significant the entire situation seemed today. Within the monarchy, these images serve a purpose much greater than decoration. They are careful markers of history, showing who truly shaped an era. Every portrait hanging in those great galleries carries a deep, unspoken message. It tells the world who belongs here and who defined the monarchy. You and I just witnessed how these silent witnesses reveal royal struggles. Because we are diving into a royal scandal that has everyone talking, portraits of kings and queens have always kept their royal place long after their voices faded. Where a painting hangs really matters, and some spots are just too prestigious to ignore. Others are tucked away, seen but rarely highlighted. And these choices are definitely never by accident. It is all about hierarchy and the priorities of the current generation running the show. That is exactly why the throne room gallery carries so much weight in the palace. For the monarchy, this isn't just a collection of art, it is how they tell their own story. Every single portrait builds that narrative, linking the past directly to the present and future. So when a portrait suddenly vanishes from that wall, you have to know it means something huge. You and I are about to see how this gets messy, especially regarding Queen Camilla. Her path into the royal inner circle was never smooth, and public opinion was always split. Eptance didn't just happen, she had to earn it through years of pure patience. When she finally became queen beside King Charles, it felt like a massive chapter closing. That portrait hanging in the gallery wasn't just decoration, it was her symbol of legitimacy. It meant she was here to stay, which is exactly why reports of it disappearing hit so hard. Suddenly, the public started asking the kind of questions the palace definitely wanted to avoid. Was the portrait gone for good? Or was this a calculated move behind those palace walls? The uncertainty just fanned the flames of speculation, and the rumors are getting wild. Some think it shows changing priorities, while others see major tension regarding the future. As the talk grows louder, eyes are shifting away from the art and toward the real power players. Because while everyone is obsessed with the missing painting, insiders know something else is happening. It feels like a new generation is finally stepping up to shape their own version of the crown. And with every passing day, one name keeps popping up in the conversation: Prince William. Now pay attention, because this is where the drama really starts to heat up. Sources close to the inner circle say William has been laser focused over the last few weeks. Meetings have been happening, and rumors suggest a decision is brewing that could shock everyone. While the mystery of the portrait swirls, all eyes are locked on the future king. William has held a spot in the monarchy that is truly one of a kind. He isn't just sitting in the wings anymore, he is effectively running the show behind the scenes. With King Charles facing big hurdles, William's influence has reached a whole new level. Palace insiders were picking up on these subtle shifts long before the portrait drama broke. His desk is piled high with new responsibilities, and he is clearly taking charge of things. Every major decision now seems to carry his direct input, which is a massive change. Reports circulating within royal circles mention secret, high stakes meetings happening late at night. Official details are basically non existent, but that only makes the rumor spread even faster. When you have a massive information gap, people will naturally start filling in the blanks. Some claim the talks were about the royal image, while others think it is long term planning, regardless of the true goal. One thing is clear in every report we are seeing: Prince William is definitely leading the charge, and he is not asking for permission. He knows the modern monarchy is on thin ice and is fully aware of the stakes. He grew up watching the public turn on his family, so he knows how it goes. Because of that experience, he is determined to protect the institution he will eventually inherit. He isn't looking for drama, just making quiet, careful calls that shift the entire narrative. So, what do you and I take from all this? That the future is being rewritten right now. His determination to secure a legacy has clearly hit an all time high lately. Stick with me, because you and I are about to uncover a scandal hidden behind palace walls. The future of the crown isn't just about old traditions anymore, it is about relevance, keeping things stable, and holding on to that fragile public trust. Insiders say he is constantly pushing to modernize the monarchy for the decades ahead. But whenever you try to change an institution built on history, major drama follows. Whispers of intense disagreements started leaking from behind those closed doors. Nothing explosive, yet but enough to know that nobody was seeing eye to eye. Different generations, different priorities, and a whole lot of clashing strategies. And within all that chaos, Queen Camilla suddenly became the center of the storm. People started asking, was that portrait being moved just a symbolic shift? Or was it a calculated move to redefine her role in the next royal chapter? Nobody had the answer. But the questions just kept getting louder and louder. Now, pay attention. This is the moment everything turned from rumors into reality. Palace insiders claim a final review happened, and the decision was officially locked in. The order that had fueled weeks of wild speculation was finally signed off. The portrait was yanked down, and the fallout hit the household like a tidal wave. But what stunned everyone wasn't the removal, it was Camilla's reaction to it. She spent years fighting for her spot in an institution that once rejected her. Insiders say the news hit her with unexpected force, a deeply personal blow. It looked like a minor change. But to her, it meant everything. That image wasn't just paint on canvas, it was her entire legacy. It symbolized a grueling journey that had finally earned her the title of Queen, a road paved with harsh criticism, constant scrutiny, and endless questions. Those painful memories she thought she had buried were suddenly forced to the surface. She was the face of the most debated chapter in royal history. The public was absolutely unforgiving, and the hate was relentless. Every single move she made was measured against controversies that refused to die. Things changed, and the people started to see her differently. Steady service. She carved out her own place within the monarchy. It was a hard won victory, which is exactly why this reaction hit so hard. Word is, she didn't get a formal warning, she just discovered the truth. The moment she realized the portrait was gone, she was reportedly left stunned. Some say it was pure shock. Others think there was real, deep hurt underneath. Whatever the truth, everyone agrees that this felt like a targeted, personal attack. Staff members noticed an immediate, chilling shift in the palace atmosphere. Conversations turned cautious, and even normal routines felt heavy with tension. While nobody would speak out loud, the emotions in the room were skyrocketing. That portrait became a symbol of power. Standing and how history records them, you can feel the weight of that transition, can't you? It is absolutely intense. For Camilla, the uncertainty might have ripped open wounds from her past. After all that work to build her legitimacy, this felt like a major slap in the face. It wasn't just some boring administrative task, it was a challenge to her status. The contrast is brutal. Watching her stand beside the king, then facing this, rumors say a key, symbolic space in the palace no longer honors her role. And that is where we leave it, you. And I just witnessed a royal disaster. Stick with me, because you and I are about to dive into a scandal rocking the palace foundations. Advisors are panicking, trying to walk on eggshells while everything falls apart behind closed doors. Every single word spoken in the halls is loaded with hidden meaning and sharp edges. Those heavy silences, they just fuel the wild rumors spreading faster than wildfire across the estate. Inside the royal residence, the lines between what is real and what is just imagery are blurring. What started as a missing portrait is now destroying relationships and eroding trust in the institution. Most people on the outside have no clue about the crushing emotional weight behind this mess, but those close to the crown know this conflict has long since escaped the gallery walls. Now, watch closely. This is where the personal drama creates impossible pressure on the king. As things get heated in private, King Charles is caught in an absolute nightmare of divided loyalties. Trust me, nobody understands the insane stakes of this situation quite like the king himself. This isn't just about a painting anymore. It has evolved into a full blown crisis of legacy. The survival of the entire monarchy feels like it is hanging by a very thin thread. Outsiders think this is just a debate over art, but the reality is far more volatile. Inside those walls, decades of history and deep seated loyalty are being tested to the limit. King Charles stands at the center of this storm, facing a challenge no monarch would want. Queen Camilla, his rock, his partner, and his confidant through the darkest times, Prince William the heir. The future face of this entire legacy. There is no easy path forward. Every single choice carries a heavy, painful cost. His bond with Camilla is deep, built on years of shared history and mutual survival. Long before the crowns and official titles, she was there through every triumph and every failure. Together, they have weathered relentless public scrutiny and storms that should have broken them. That history carries immense weight. You cannot separate her from the sacrifices that defined him. Yet the king realizes that time does not stand still, and the world is always shifting. You and I both know that every generation eventually has to hand over the heavy torch. William is moving past simple training. He is actively stepping into the role of the future. That future is no longer a distant concept, but a reality taking shape right now. Insiders claim advisors are now looking to the Prince of Wales for long term strategy and direction. His voice is gaining real authority, and his opinions carry weight that cannot be ignored. Whether you like it or not, a massive shift in power is clearly underway here. This rising influence is making it nearly impossible to find a clean way out of this. Palace whispers suggest courtiers are split, with the palace becoming a house deeply divided. Some want the controversy silenced immediately to stop the tension from spiraling out of control, but others warn that reversing course would only undermine William just as he gains momentum. Behind closed doors, frantic efforts to smooth things over are reportedly failing at every turn. Trusted advisors are trying to find common ground, but every fix creates a new problem. Backing Camilla feels like a direct slap to the heir who is leading the next era, but supporting William risks deepening the hurt already circulating within the royal residence walls. It is a brutal balancing act with absolutely no winners in sight for the royal family. What makes this truly significant is the massive symbolism attached to this entire portrait ordeal. Insiders are beginning to see this as a sign of something much bigger than art. It feels like the quiet, messy beginning of a real transition of power behind scenes. The old guard is holding on, but the next generation is stepping up with newfound confidence. The missing portrait is just a distraction. The real drama is the changing royal hierarchy as this struggle intensifies. The future of the monarchy is being rewritten right before our eyes. Stick with me. We are diving into a royal scandal that honestly feels like a high stakes drama. Just how much power does Prince William really hold now? And how does Charles balance these shifting loyalties? Where does Camilla fit into this next chapter? The answers are messy, but the tension is real. You might be thinking the same thing I am. The monarchy is entering a completely different, unpredictable phase. While the palace desperately tries to keep things quiet, a massive question is taking over all the talk. What started as just a disagreement over a missing portrait is blowing up into something way bigger. It's becoming a cold, symbolic war over who actually gets to shape the future of the crown. The gossip inside royal circles has moved way past Camilla and her disappearing painting. That incident is now just a magnifying glass for something much deeper happening behind palace doors. Advisors and longtime watchers are finished asking what exactly went down during that whole mess. They are now asking why it happened and what it reveals about the monarchy as entire future. Right in the middle of all this drama stands Prince William, calm and calculated as ever. He's built a reputation on balancing old school traditions with a modern, changing world. If you look at his work, one theme keeps popping up. He knows history, but he values evolution. He realizes the institution cannot just coast on past glories to stay relevant anymore. It needs to bridge the gap to younger generations who see power and public service differently. That specific challenge has become the biggest priority for the royals in these last few years. Public expectations have shifted, and people aren't just looking at fancy titles or ceremonies anymore. Everyone is watching for true relevance, honesty, and whether the royals are actually accountable. Every little choice is picked apart, and every single symbol is interpreted through that intense lens. In this environment, Even a basic portrait suddenly takes on massive, world altering significance. That's why everyone is obsessed if those reports are true. This is way more than just decor changes. It looks like a full blown reassessment of what these royal symbols actually represent for the future. Portraits have been used to cement power and decide who stays in the spotlight. These choices don't just happen, they dictate public memory and shape how history remembers an era. They are essentially writing the story that future generations will read about our current time. According to insiders, the real power struggle is playing out in these very private advisor meetings. How should they look going forward? And which figures will lead the next big chapter? They re-arguing over which symbols best show the world where the monarchy's heart really lies. While no official word has leaked, you can bet these conversations are carrying insane weight lately. At the same time, the fear of losing public approval is keeping the decision makers up at night. They know the monarchy lives or dies based on whether the public actually trusts them. Every single gesture sends a message, and every decision is just one piece of a giant puzzle. This portrait drama is so sensitive because it highlights two totally different visions for the throne. Some people see this as necessary modernization, but others fear it's just creating unneeded chaos. Then there is the group who think this is just the natural shift when a new generation takes over. Whatever your take, it's hard to ignore that this moment feels incredibly heavy and important. Now, pay attention to this part because the consensus among experts is starting to shift. A growing number of observers are realizing that this whole controversy is a major turning point. It's not just about painting, it's about the massive power struggle hiding beneath the surface. It exposes the impossible balancing act of honoring the past while trying to survive the future. As these internal debates get louder, a new, quieter realization is starting to sink in for everyone. We are entering an era where even the smallest symbolic move can have massive, unexpected consequences. This portrait has kicked off questions that don't have any easy or comfortable answers right now. You and I can see it clearly. Each new day just brings more uncertainty about what happens next. Because while the public debate raged, a massive scandal was brewing behind palace walls. Inside, reactions were wild from total shock to quiet, uneasy nods of approval. Some thought the move was a necessary change, but others felt it was deeply problematic. Yet almost everyone agreed on one thing: the fallout was not going away anytime soon. As gossip tore through royal circles, the vibe inside the palace got incredibly complicated. What looked like a private drama over a single portrait was touching every corner of the institution. Advisors argued constantly, while staff members scrambled to form their own conclusions about the chaos. Longtime observers tried to read the room, but the signals remained frustratingly unclear to everyone. The deeper people dug, the more the palace seemed to split into two opposing sides. Reports from palace insiders confirmed there was absolutely no consensus on what this meant. Some argued it was a calculated move to prepare the monarchy for the future. They insisted that institutions survive by adapting, and transition periods are always messy. Others saw it differently. They felt this whole controversy was just unnecessary, disruptive noise. Now, pay attention, you have to wonder if a symbolic gesture was actually worth this tension. These conflicting viewpoints only got louder once the media started catching wind of the drama. At first, coverage was super cautious, mostly focusing on the mystery of the missing portrait. Was it really gone? And if so, why take that specific one down? But as public curiosity hit a fever pitch, the narrative shifted toward much bigger questions. Commentators started tearing apart topics like power, succession, and the shifting identity of the monarchy. What started as a simple story evolved into a massive debate about the institution's direction. Public interest followed the same wild pattern. The more they talked, the more the story grew. Conversations exploded, articles fueled new theories, and every rumor sparked another wave of speculation. Some observers saw this as clear evidence of growing tension between the younger and older generations. Others thought it was a sign that the monarchy was entering a truly transformative era inside royal circles, though the interpretations remained as divided as ever, causing total internal friction. Certain insiders insisted the whole situation was just being blown way out of proportion. They argued that this was just a normal adjustment within a constantly evolving, living institution. But others pushed back hard, claiming that symbolism is everything in this world. They knew that even small, subtle actions could reveal much larger, uncomfortable realities. The portrait's disappearance meant something deeper than just a blank spot on a wall. I know what you're thinking. This environment of uncertainties was making everyone incredibly nervous. Every single development brought a fresh wave of questions for the advisors to handle. If one missing painting could cause this much heat, people wondered what would happen next. Would other symbolic changes follow? And who would be the next target for removal? Could these adjustments reshape how certain figures were remembered in the monarchy's long story? And perhaps most importantly, who actually gets to decide how that story is told? By this point, the controversy had finally reached its absolute breaking point for the palace. The debate wasn't just private whispers anymore. It had become a subject of global fascination. People were desperate to understand what was really happening behind those closed palace doors. Yet, despite all the noise, the central mystery remained completely unresolved for the public. What made this so compelling was that every answer just seemed to create new questions. The portrait scandal exposed deep uncertainty and revealed how much symbolism still rules royal life. But beneath all that speculation, one major realization was starting to hit everyone hard. The true significance of these decisions was never really about a painting at all. It was about a much larger shift that had been quietly unfolding for months. All right, stick with me. We are about to uncover the shocking truth behind this royal scandal. That missing portrait wasn't just a mistake. It exposed deep tensions brewing behind closed palace doors. What started as a simple missing painting quickly turned into a major drama. It forced the entire institution to face a massive, uncomfortable shift in modern times. The real debate wasn't about art or frames, it was about identity and power. It was all about legacy. For weeks, the public hunted for a single, dramatic answer. People wanted one simple moment to explain everything, but the truth was far messier. Now, pay attention. This is where the controversy shows how symbols truly hold power. These symbols matter because they act as a bridge between the past and the future. They remind us of the history of the monarchy while sparking big questions about tomorrow. Pulling down that portrait wasn't just a random act, it became a massive symbol. It became permanently linked to the idea of change, not the loud, sudden kind, but the quiet, slow transformation that happens behind the scenes over many long years. It starts with small choices that eventually end up reshaping an entire royal era. One person stood at the very center of all the gossip. Prince William's influence became clearer, and frankly, more visible than ever before. The future king wasn't just waiting around for the throne, he was actively helping to steer the direction of the monarchy in real time. Every single conversation about that portrait kept circling back to that one reality. Whether people liked the decision or hated it, William's role was clearly expanding fast. For Queen Camilla, however, the path forward remained a lot more uncertain and difficult. Her place in history has been defined by decades of public debate and struggle, yet this scandal reopened old wounds that many thought were finally healed for good. It wasn't just about her current position, but how future generations will remember her. That uncertainty gave the whole episode an emotional weight beyond just boring palace politics. King Charles found his own legacy tied directly to this period of change. Historians judge monarchs by how they guide their people through these intense, shifting times. Charles is now balancing tradition and modernization while managing his own heavy constitutional responsibilities. It is a massive challenge that defines not just his reign, but the crown. Can you believe how much a single painting can change the public narrative? This arrived at a total crossroads, with one generation fading while another steadily rises. In this moment, every small gesture carries way more significance than it ever should. The monarchy is currently deciding exactly how it wants to present its next chapter. Portraits fade from walls, but the stories they represent are remembered for many generations. You and I just witnessed a wild piece of history hit. Subscribe for more.